Alrighty. Oh, I didn't even adjust my microphone. There we go. That should be sufficient right there. So anyway, am I live? I still gotta make it. Oh, I bumped into my mic. I still gotta make an introduction video, but anyway, we're just gonna kind of hang out a little bit. I'm gonna try to force myself to edit a video that I recorded 2 days ago. And that is like basically it. You know, we're not gonna do anything too serious. Maybe I'll go dive into a ship a little bit or show you guys a little bit more about a ship I just took delivery of. And then from there we can you know, maybe even take some time to record clips to go into the video I'm going to be doing about that ship, which will be uploaded hopefully like not long after this stream. So as usual, I'm just getting the little panels up on my screen so that I can read the YouTube chat. And yeah, I think we're good here. We got the YouTube chat. Then I could go and, you know, whip up dinner and have my dinner. And I think I came up with a great idea for when I stream on Mondays, what I'm going to do with the chat panel. I have a solution to that, but right now it's not important. It's just something that I'm tinkering with right now. Alrighty, so anyway, number one, let's see if we can get this microphone adjusted. So and I didn't even turn on all my lights. There we go. We need more illumination, you know? So anyway, the microphone is now attached to a shock mount, and this differs from what I was previously using, which I like a lot. I do really like this a lot, but it's not very movable, right? It's actually something you would use if you had, like, let's say you were going to perform at a venue, like you had a band, let's say, or you're part of a band, and as it turns out, you can't really just hook an electric guitar up to a PA system and you know, get all of the settings right, you know, the fuzz or the distortion and all of that. So what they would do is they would take a dynamic microphone and place it on this type of stand, and you could put the dynamic mic in front of a drum set in order to run it to a PA system, or in front of a guitar amp. And it sounds kind of weird putting a microphone in front of a speaker. It's sort of like, you know, when you see amateurs recording a video on YouTube, they point their camera at their TV, right? And it's like, that's like a joke. It's like, you know, come on, get yourself a capture card. But as it turns out, when performing live, you know, you got your roadies or whoever adjusts your, you know, equipment if you have a band. And when you tweak all of those little knobs on a guitar amp, especially like an old tube amp, there's really no way to replicate that outside of that amp. So essentially your guitar goes into the amp, you adjust your amp, and then the sound coming out of the amp is what you want your listeners, your, you know, your fans to listen to. And so you would, you know, at a small venue, that would be fine. You could maybe even hook up multiple amps together and get the same sound or something. But just generally speaking, you'd have one good amp for the venue, for the event. At least that's how I understand it. But on the other hand, if you have a whole entire place like the Royal Albert Hall or some large place, now you need a way to go from the guitar amp to the PA system. And so, yeah, they put the microphone on a stand like this. A dynamic mic is a bit more simple in design, so they're a bit more rugged. Whereas a condenser mic is, not that it's not rugged, but it is a bit, you know, more complicated of a design. You know, it's just the internal characteristics of it. But bottom line is, this is a very proficient stand for, you know, I mean, it's obviously intended for a different purpose than what I was using it for. I guess that's the point, is I'm not using it. I'm not a musician. I just used this because it fit on my desk, right? Like, I put this right in front of my tower, in front of my desktop computer. It's got a nice long foot on it so it doesn't tip over when the weight of a microphone is going this way. This is not a counterweight, but I could put, you know, something on here. I've sometimes hung things on it, but generally it's a balancing act. You just want to make sure that the foot doesn't get, you know, knocked over, right? And this worked for a while. So I would put this in front of my tower and speak into the upside down microphone. And if I needed to move it a little bit, I could rotate this. I can like unlock it and rotate it if I needed to unlock it. But it was, you know, pretty fine actually. You know, it wasn't terrible. But I was kind of like curious to see what it would be like to have a shock mount, because I've already owned this boom arm that you're looking at here. The boom arm, I've had it for a while. I don't usually use this boom arm because it's intended for my dynamic microphone, but I plopped it up here at some point because I've been meaning to set up a VTuber persona for gaming. So if I'm like in my bed or sitting on a couch playing a game, I can move the microphone over there. I don't have to be on camera, but I can be heard. So that's what this arm is technically too big for where it's being positioned right now, which is a little inconvenient. I might get a shorter arm and, you know, decide to move this around. I'm not 100% on that. I might stick with this arm right here for an indefinite period, you know. But the thing is, the shock mount, obviously, it suspends it on a bunch of elastic bands. And, you know, you can move it around and it doesn't make... It does make some noise when you rattle it around, actually. I'm looking at the VU meter. It does make noise when I shake it. I don't know how much noise, but it does. But no big deal. So anyway... The other issue is when using this particular boom arm is, I don't want to use my pop filter. I have one right here. But it's just, you know, like, super inconvenient because when you move this around, sometimes the pop filter will lose alignment. Now, the company making this microphone, who makes this mic, or at least some accessories companies make a pop filter that's really small, that goes like right here. That would be the ideal, and at the time I bought the mic, I wasn't interested in spending double on a little piece of nylon stocking, so I didn't buy that one, but I might buy it down the road. But that's what we're looking at here. So only issue with this configuration is, as you can see, if it's too low, my hand bumps into it. What up, David Glenn? And so I'm kind of just figuring it out, but also I can't bring it any higher because without a pop filter, we're going to get those plosive sounds. And with this type of mic, there is the proximity effect where, like, speaking closer into it sounds better. But at the same time, I think that this is probably fine, you know, about the right distance if we took a ruler out and measured it. Any closer, and we would get that Peter Piper. See? You hit a... You know, so we don't want that. Meanwhile, going out this far, I have my audio filter set up in such a way that I can actually move the microphone out this far, and it actually, you know, brings it into the yellow zone. This would not happen without audio filters. I would not be able to sit this far away and have the yellow like that. On the other hand, I can move it considerably closer, and you can see maybe it's arguably too loud. Maybe I can crank it down a little bit, but you can see that, you know, I'm just barely kissing the red zone, and I can, you know, manually compensate on this end. Like right here, I can go maybe like, yeah, I can just lower it by just shy of 2 dB, and that is probably more than satisfactory. So that's number one. Number two, I actually should record a short video. I've been meaning to show this. So this is the ship that my friend printed, and I planned on fixing it. Well, I did fix it to an extent, but it actually had some issues when it printed. So if we look here, you'll see how we have like these lines here. And I mean, that's how printers work, but there's actually a little bit more texture here because there was an alignment issue or an issue with the Z-axis on the printer. So you got like a lot, you know, of... you know, like little separations here, and this turns out that it creates a condition where, there it is, that happens, and it happens way more easily than it normally does. Now, my friend likes to print hollow, and with good quality, you know, printer filament, you can print hollow and get like a pretty strong structure with minimal infill. I tend to like to put like a good amount of infill in, even though it takes more time and wastes toner filament. But with the issue that occurred during this particular print run, it really is more down to just the issue of the printer. And I've already put some cyanolite crazy glue over here to fix the Bussard collector. And even that is a bit questionable, right? I put this spackle, it's not really spackle, but it's Tamiya putty all over this, and that's what fixed it originally. Because originally there was a split, I think, over here or something. But as you can see now, we have another split that we gotta fix. And it actually might be on the opposite side of the original split. I'm not really sure, but and then there was also a software glitch that caused there to be a gap. Like literally, it was like just a tiny attachment point and a gap where this white stuff is. So that's why we have white stuff. So I could sand it down, paint over it, but yeah, this one, what happened was I had it fixed up. It needed a little more work. Then something fell on it and it cracked the warp nacelle again. So at this point, I'm like, it's not a top priority. I'm just going to shove it over here. Now, two things I want to show real quick. We're going to do a separate video on this. So we're going to make this segment brief. This is the Reinforced Junior from Mobile Suit Victory Gundam. And it's a pretty good replica. I nearly lost the beam turrets multiple times. You got the beam cannon turrets or beam weapon turrets here, because they are movable, but you really got to give them a good push in the downward direction. If you just rotate it like this, it's going to shimmy itself out like that. So no big deal. Just as long as you're aware of that, you can rotate it to your heart's content, but you got to be prepared to push it back in. So generally what I would do is, if I was rotating this, if you own one of these, I would press down and rotate it while pressing down, and that'll basically ensure that it doesn't fall out. And I dropped it once, or I tripped on a table or something, and the bottom turret fell out. And I'm glad I checked before leaving my friend's house, because once the kids wake up in the morning, there's no chance you're gonna find it. Now this ship is cool because you have a couple of things going on here. On the Reinforced Junior, you have your, launch catapult from the original ship, but it was actually attached to an enemy ship. And that's what we're seeing here. We're seeing two catapults on the bottom here, because, remember, in space, there is no up. So you can have your, three-sided catapults. And actually, the original ship that this is derived from is this one here. So you're seeing like only one of the catapults, but there's 4 of them on this ship. Also, if we look back here, see that engine pod? So you got 4 engine pods. Well, if we go back to my camera here, you might recognize that engine pod. So we got an engine pod here. And that's definitely the same part that we're seeing on the back or the aft section of this ship here. And so essentially what happened was, when the Ligue Militaire confiscated this ship from the enemy, and they took heavy battle damage on the original ship, which is this one here. So you can see this and this were essentially fused together in order to create this. And so the top part definitely looks like the Federation ship. Whoa, far out, man. But the bottom part looks like this. See, you can kind of see it a little bit, right? And obviously, instead of having that long, part at the end, it just has this, like so. Instead of having that knob at the end, at the front, it's got this. And that's because this is actually a beam shield projector. And I'm going to show that in my video that I plan to upload after I edit the video. Now, side note, downside to having the boom arm is it seems to reflect a lot of the green light from the chroma key. So there might be ways to cope with that. I just haven't figured it out yet. Like I put some gaffer's tape on to reduce the effect, but I might just put some flat paint on top of the gaffer's tape to like hide that, because I don't know, like I don't like seeing the like chroma key thing, right? I mean, this actually works pretty well here. Like, yeah, you get a little dancing noise pattern, but if it's in front of me, that's not an issue. And this USB cable, I'm not going to get bent out of shape. That is blending into the background a little bit, like whatever, Oh man, I thought I muted my audio to cough. Oh, hey. Oh wait, my mute button doesn't work. Oh my god. Hope I haven't used profanity on stream ever since remapping my mute button. But we're gonna go and I'm gonna put my mute button back to where it belongs. There we go. So now I got a proper mute button. Alrighty. So anyway, let's see here. Now real quick, I'll show you one of the cool thing. Do I have my markers? I do. Okay, good. So picked up a really cool accessory. It's a Gundam marker airbrush unit. And so essentially you put your markers in here and you tighten up the collar and it shoots air. Now in a way you're sort of rapidly drying out the marker by using this, but it does give you like a nice even coat. And although like I'm not an expert of you know, airbrushing, and I don't know if this is a desirable thing to have this sputtered pattern here, I think sometimes having like a little texture might be desirable for some people. I mean, it gives it that look of like Krupp's armor. And so what I did was I practiced on the bottom first, and I got like mixed results down here, and then I practiced on the front and got variable results, right? And then we did the top, and you can see like probably up here is one of the better areas. We're doing blue on blue, but you know what? Now we want to see, how does this differ from the original paint job? Well, luckily we have an area that I taped over so I could show you that. So we got the original, not the original, the airbrush job here. And I'm going to just gradually flip it over so you can see. And so essentially the blue up here is like darker. Now this is metallic blue, I think. I don't remember actually. I think that's a metallic blue, so don't worry about that right now. But I think we can see that this blue does reflect more blue light back. So whereas this blue might behave differently under different lighting conditions, and some people may prefer or not prefer to have the glossy look on there. You know, you get like, I don't know, this is pretty nice, I think. So yeah, and I could just buff this out and make it a rougher texture using the gun primer tool. Oh shoot, I gotta still order my stuff from that website. Oh man, I hate when I put off on ordering something and I forget to, you know, submit the order, because I had to order some critical tools. So yeah, I'm gonna work around with this here and see how it goes. But yeah, I think it's pretty cool too, David Glenn, you know. And it doesn't really get clogged up. Like, one of the reasons I like it is because, like, I mean, it doesn't really look terribly like a pain in the butt to clean, you know? I mean, like, it just isn't. Testing 1, 2. I'm sorry, I was just checking because I see the red light blinking on my microphone. And I'm trying to see if I could identify the source of that blinking light. But, oh well, it's not critically important. I'm just, you know. And so, you know, as they say in the song by Biggie Smalls, if you don't know, now you know. Okay, right, they don't say that. Anyway, well, he does say that, but in so many words. The only thing I don't like about this this paint tip is it's got numbers on it. It's got like a number 2. But, you know, that number 2 is going to come right off when I wipe it down with rubbing alcohol or isopropyl alcohol. So that does worry me a little bit. But, I mean, I'm going to just take it in stride and maybe just use an engraver to scribble down onto the label. Speaking of engravers, I have 2 Dremel rotary tools. I have one hanging above me that's very powerful, very loud, and it has like an extension wand on it for like, see this like wire here? That's actually basically lets you put accessories on the end of this long cable instead of having the rotary tool in your hand. But I just bought one of these. This is the very quiet. It's a USB-C powered, or you can recharge it using USB Type-C. And it's just a smaller Dremel rotary tool, and it seems to have like less torque, but I mean, I'm not worried about that. It certainly, you know, gets good torque once you spin it up to speed, but it more or less supports all of the accessories. On the other hand, a hilarious little accessory is the blower accessory. So this is supposed to be like a dust blower here, but honestly, it doesn't really move a whole lot of air. And the only thing I didn't do was attach it directly to the main Dremel tool. I attached it to the end of the long wand or the long cable, but I really don't see this moving a lot of air. So it does not at all replace a air compressor or a shop vac or dust off. It does not do any such thing. But you mentioned something interesting, David Glenn. You said, you asked, do you have a laser etching tool? No, not yet. It has crossed my mind because those things are bloody cool. I mean, like, what was it? Like, I have a Creality Ender 3D printer, and people do get these, like, attachment tools, and the machine is pretty well designed for having different tool heads. Sometimes you can just print out an attachment point and program the offset difference from the original nozzle and pretty much just alternate between like different modes, you know, like, okay, am I printing or am I engraving today? And with minimal changing of components, you could do that. Creality also sells a dedicated laser etcher, and I thought about getting one for different purposes, and although they don't really cut through wood that well, they don't cut through wood that poorly either, you know, like, I mean, they really aren't that bad for cutting through wood. And what you could do is, I would imagine, slow it down and take longer to go through the, you know, cutting piece, or, you know, I'm sure there's other options, you know, like, and why is that doing that? Let me gotta fix that. I can't have the word DJ Ronnie. There we go. Okay, I just wanted to fix the chat window there so that people can see the chat. So yeah, you know, you get the idea. So no, the short answer is I do not own a laser etching tool, and if that's what you're talking about, laser etching or laser engraving tool, yeah, I don't own one, but it's great because, like, you know, some people will modify the 3D printer to be like a die cutter, and that's good if you have like vinyl decals and you just want to cut them to shape. You know, there's definitely a lot of little things people do, you know, in that realm, right? Now, this is something that generally the Gundam markers do better on small details, and if you're not OCD, you could just like maybe brush over it one more time and call it a day. Maybe it's time we mask this and paint over it, you know? Maybe do the bottom first and see how it comes out. So, of course, that means I have to clean it again. So, I'm going to give it a cleaning. I got some Q-tip and toilet paper here. Yeah, this is probably why we had a toilet paper shortage in 2020. I don't know why there's a toilet paper shortage in 2020, but I do remember, like, when China was having the issues, and before they imported their, you know, thing over to us and stuff, that when my friend went on Reddit, he read a Reddit post for people who were living in, you know, the area of Wuhan or nearby, and basically they said that, well, getting food deliveries was an issue. The food will keep coming. The issue is the smaller things like toothpaste and toilet paper. And so, like, a week before the big toilet paper shortage started in the US, I proceeded to order like a box of toilet paper, and my dad thought I was a madman or paranoid or something, and then sure enough, I was like, told you so, because, you know, they had the toilet paper shortage, you know? I was also the first person to order masks, but, like, I mainly did it because the guy at work, the left-leaning coworker I had, kept saying that people were stupid for wearing masks. Like, literally, like, 2 weeks before he was all about wearing masks for, like, the rest of the year. And so, basically, I was like, okay, if this guy's saying that this is bad, then I better do it. Or if the mainstream media is saying don't do it, I better do it. Because, like, of course they were just, like, helping the health administrators, right? Hospital administrators with, you know, procurement or, you know, whatnot. And it's like, it's not my fault they didn't fucking plan ahead. You know, that's their responsibility, not mine. So it's not my job to help any hospital have enough supplies when that was the responsibility of their management. I'm sorry, tough shit. If I worked in a hospital, I would take responsibility and get my own mask, you know? But I always remember that it's like school. They sometimes have rules that they have to enforce, you know, like, so instead of saying no tread on me hats, they got to say no hats at all. So whether it's a LGBT hat or a don't tread on me hat, hypothetically, you got to just have a blanket rule against both. But in the case of, you know, of the, what do you call it? You know, the, I forgot, my brain is, multitasking too much, probably. What was I saying? Well, you get the idea. You know, I'm sure I would get the idea if I hit the rewind button. So, where are my manners? Uh-oh. So, I got a question for you, David Glenn. Do you have a suggestion of what I should do on my Monday show this week? Boy, that camera is really overexposed, huh? Should I invite guests? Should I do the show alone? Should I post nudes? No, I'm kidding, that's terrible. Maybe I'll do reaction videos. At some point I should do like group reaction videos, you know, like I actually was gonna do that with Pop Culture Mechanic, but I just kind of forgot. Yeah, so it's very tricky to there we go. I think that'll be fine. Where's the alcohol? Hey, what up? Oh, hey, what up, Timborghini Tube? How you doing, bud? It's good to see you. I hope all is well. Yeah, no worries, man. It's not a committal. You don't have to commit to making an answer on that. I mean, of course, I'll accept any answer you give, or at least consider it. But, yeah, you know, just a thought, you know. Because, I mean, I think we know that Baron, Cash Money, Pacific 414, they all had a good time that time they were on. So, I mean, they're welcome on again, and they said they would love to be on again. So, you know, only thing I gotta do is next time I gotta, like, make sure I give them a link ahead of time. So maybe if I want to have them on, I better do it next week. Because I need to send out, I want to send a link out really early on a scheduled stream. So that they can test out. You can see my VCR. Oh my god, that's funny. Well, my Babylon 5 box set is like over there, and I'm afraid to disrupt the pile of stuff that it's in right now. But maybe I'll grab it for you. Maybe I'll grab it. Maybe if I had the Babylon 5 trading card on me, that would be cool. Because I have like 3. So I bought Babylon 5 on VHS like 2 years ago, so that I can could like basically make a better version, because the DVD version of Babylon 5 has some issues. It does. It really does. Like, it's just like, if you get Babylon 5 on DVD, now it's on Blu-ray. Now it's on Blu-ray, so it's better. But before they came out with Babylon 5 on Blu-ray, it was actually better on VHS than it was on DVD for the most part. Like, I mean, yeah, like the live action scenes were fine and they were widescreen, but the problem is that a sci-fi show leans heavily on visual effects, right? And that was where there was a problem. That's interesting. And the microphone doesn't like that I'm talking so loud into it. Testing 1 2. Okay. Anyway, so I was just checking my mic. So anyway, where was I? Yeah. So anyway, so I have a room in this, you know, I got a room that has more VHS tapes. Perhaps I should post a picture of the VHS tape wall. Is what happened was my dad used to record, you know, things on TV in the 90s. So that's why I have a VCR on my desk. It's because periodically I digitally capture, you know, VHS content. In fact, I can show you some examples. Give me 2 seconds. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So if we go to, and I do not recommend going to BitChute, all right? Because BitChute is metaphorically and figuratively, I'm not saying it's like ran by neo-Nazis, but a lot of them gravitate to it. And I get it. It's because of the whole free speech thing and all of that. And I respect free speech, but you'll get like a bunch of comments on BitChute from like super racist people. They'll be like, oh, those damn monkeys and crazy shit like that, you know? Hey, that's weird. Oh, wait. Yeah, I have 2 BitChute channels. All right, let me log out of BitChute and log back in. So, I have a BitChute channel named after me, and I have one that I made second. Do I have hands? Oh, thank you. So, anyway, this is BitChute, and if we go to my profile, thank you, I appreciate that. So right here, this is the BitChute channel. It's called Industrial Television. I need to like basically upload the same videos and more to Rumble. or something, anywhere else, just outside of here. Now let me see if the navigation on here is a little wonky. I think some of these videos are a little messed up. And did I really upload them a year ago? It's been that long? Okay. So anyway, this is stuff that we recorded in late 90s, early 2000s off the local public access TV station. And so basically, these two guys that you see sitting in the chair on the right side here, they nicknamed themselves the Two Droogies, like from the movie A Clockwork Orange. And this is Brian and Ed. Ed and Brian. And the guy on the left, may he rest in peace. And what they would do is they would play videos and react to them. So that's what they're doing. They're reacting to the video, right? So I'll get you some audio here. Hopefully it's not too loud. Let me just turn on output audio. All right, it's loading. Now, there's one thing about BitChute is things sometimes take a long time to load. It helps when you upload a video to like use a good codec, you know, like a codec that will cooperate with BitChute, because you can see like how it's not, it could be that maybe they're having bandwidth issues right now. Maybe there's too much traffic right now. Oh yeah, family warning.
These pictures have been bold and shocking enough that you've learned a very worthwhile lesson from them. I wish you'd show the management your appreciation at this time. Pain. Now we bring to the industrial show you told.
Oh God. You just saw that.
If you'll wait many minutes, Rush.
I think that some of it is kids being trolls on BitChute, but I mean, there are people who are feeble-minded, you know? And, I mean, like, you know, I think some of the more racist people, if anyone's gonna be an adult that's gonna have a feeble mindset, it's gonna be a racist adult, you know? I mean, I'm sure there's valid reasons for people to feel the way they do, so I don't want to say every racist person is feeble-minded, but generally speaking, you know, people who have an axe to grind against, you know, people due to their, you know, skin color or, you know, ethnic makeup, or the attitude that, like, oh, white people are inherently better, or, like, one example would be, like, there's people who, like, they don't want to come off as racist, so they try to pretend they're not, but then they talk about how, like, IQ numbers are really low in Africa, and how, like, African people are genetically less intelligent because of that. And it's like, okay, great, the scores don't lie, I guess. But it's like, well, let's be honest here. I mean, let's be real. Like, I'm a city boy, raised in the U.S., and an IQ test might be a valid measurement of my intelligence here. And also, my life experience, my public school education will translate into an IQ score. But, you know, someone in a village in Africa, or someone in a small town in Africa, or even a city in Africa, the skill sets that matter, the skill sets that, you know, work, are different, you know. And I mean, this is not to say that that intellectual stuff doesn't matter, and that this, you know, that you can't objectively measure someone's score, but that I don't think, like, no matter what you say, that, oh, IQ does not depend on, you know, like, you can't study for an IQ test, they say. I call bullshit. I'm sure, like, you can go, like, it's like the SAT, like, I could go up 200 points on the SAT by studying flashcards, all right? I did it. I've done it, you know? But, like, at the same time, I get that, like, there's generally an upper limit without the baser knowledge, but until we put the same school, I'm not saying we should put the same school, but until you could show me that we have all of the same schools and the same opportunity, and, you know, like, food security and all of that stuff is similarly solved in Africa in its entirety, I don't think people should be trying to make an apples to oranges comparison to American and African IQ scores. Like, you know, once again, like, European people in Europe are raised differently than people in Africa. You know, just like, that's my opinion, but I digress. I hope I'm making sense here. So bottom line, yeah, this is industrial television. And so this is what I do at VHS lately is, it's like historical preservation. This is a show that you can't really find on YouTube. There's like one YouTube channel that has a few episodes, and they're not even uploaded correctly, because when you do like low def video, see how like the picture is a square? So the thing is, a lot of people would take videos of this aspect ratio and upload them in widescreen. And so when you go to play, like I'll show you my right side monitor. When you take this video and you try to play it on a square monitor, my right monitor is actually a 4x3 square, and you make it full screen, you get pillar box on the side. See those lines there? So I had to go through effort to make sure that I can upload the video in a format where it does not have the box on the side. Now, as for the black bar on the bottom, this is another reason for me to move away from BitChute. BitChute has an inherent issue, I think, when it comes to that video aspect ratio. But technically, I made the mistake here. When I uploaded this video, you can see a dark black bar here. That's part of the video frame. Then this gray bar where my mouse pointer is actually where the video frame ends. So in other words, I should have cropped this horizontally when I uploaded it. But you know why I didn't? There's a reason. You're going to love this.
Exciting film roll.
Okay, that you're not going to love. That's porn. This is right here. I'll give you the link to my BitChute channel if you guys want to watch this on your own, because I'm not putting it here. I do want to give a shout out to Third for Second, and that's it. Third for Second. And even though he offended me, I'm going to shout him out and tell you guys to subscribe to Third for. And because he was kind enough to give me a wrench, I will provide a wrench to Third for Second, whom you can see in a couple of videos on Ryan Roger Afty's channel. Quite a few videos for that matter. But anyway, how do I do that? Add as Maserati. There we go. You are now a Maserati. And I mean, Timbagini Tube, if you want to be a mod, just let me know, man. I trust you. I like you. You're cool. I mean, I'm not trying to give everyone a wrench, but like, I know that my boy here ain't stirring up drama, you know? And what up, Zombie Box Reviews? So let's see here. This is an interesting point here. So you mentioned Timbagini says it's all a product of upbringing. Let's get that prawn back on screen. No, I'm kidding. I lost my video. Let me just I lost the video. Ah, here it is. So yeah, we got some pornography, right? Then we skip forward. Oh yeah, so this is what I did. Okay, so this is where I'm brilliant. I'm sorry, and I'll get back to the topic in a moment about IQ and race. But see, this is a standard definition show, and normally if the entire show contained, you know, like these square 4x3 aspect ratio image that you're seeing here, I would crop the black bars out so that it would, you know, fit on a regular old-fashioned screen or monitor. But here's the thing. When you have a widescreen scene, normally this would have double letterbox. So this scene would normally be on a square image panel with black bars on the top and bottom. So when I put this into editing, what I did was I zoomed in on it, got rid of the black bars, and made it fill up the widescreen monitor. So this actually took real effort to do, but I just felt like it made sense because now when you watch it on your TV, it fills up your entire monitor.
Kung Fu and Karate versus the Blood Sword. Slash. Like
Zombie Box, that's funny. So anyway,
the mighty weapon that put the force of an army in the hands of a girl.
I think it's just a bunch of kids. Okay, it's okay. Here we are.
Versus the attack of the tiger claw.
Yeah, so some people do live in a cave, some people have feeble minds, and that's what it comes down to. So beyond that, yes, IQ scores up, as you say, it's all a product of surroundings and how you're brought up. I've met people of all different sorts. Yeah, I concur. You know, it's like, I think some people, they want to, you know, they have a racial axe to grind. Oh, God. Speaking of racial axe to grind, oh, my God. Is this, am I allowed to play this here? So this is exactly what I'm talking about. These guys are like the original reaction video YouTubers. Okay, like before YouTube was a thing, this is what these guys were doing on the local community access, you know, station. So if this entire episode was, you know, done in 4x3, I would have cropped the black bars or whatever. But since we have some widescreen content, I manually alternated between the two. So I put a lot of consideration into, like, you know, my restorations. Also, when you copy VHS video from a VCR to a computer, you get these ugly horizontal lines on the screen anytime there's motion. And I had to run a advanced de-interlacing filter to process it in such a way that we can get rid of those horizontal lines without losing quality. Because as you can see, there's like precious little quality to begin with. Like this is like really as good of a quality capture as I could get because the original tape was already recorded in EP mode.
In the new motion picture experience that is thrilling millions today.
I better make sure I'm not getting copyright claimed on my own. Oh, so far so good. Usually I get claimed or struck on these like within the first like minute of video. Yeah, so unfortunately my other VCR that I was using died on me. At least it looks like it died on me. I gotta take it apart and check it, but the LED on the front is blinking and it's not turning on anymore. This VCR still works, but when I rewind, it makes a lot of like noises, and so I need to put some lithium grease inside of my VCR.
Now see the blade.
But you know, this is some of the ways that I deal with the black bars. It's like Lord of the Rings. I believe Third Floor Second lives next to the Lord of the Rings. Oh yeah, did they have any? Oh, okay, it's like people getting beaten up and murdered. Oh, it is about gay cowboys. No, wait, these are straight cowboys. The gay cowboys is in a different episode. I'm not even kidding, like, I watched the video, it was literally gay cowboys. Buck naked, getting ready. See, these are straight cowboys.
Is the name of the game. Stick up. Hands over your heads.
Oh my god, he's wearing a Richard Nixon mask.
Gets a head blasted up.
Blam! And he knocks off the young rooster.
If I remember correctly, Tim McGeaney says, it was always issues of dust and debris in the tape heads. Yeah. Tape heads, yeah, so you got like the cleaning tape. You either open it up and clean it by hand, or you buy the tape that has the sponge inside, right? So you got a VHS tape, you put some liquid solution on the sponge in some cases, unless it's a dry cleaner, and you just play this tape, and it plays the tape, and it brushes your tape heads at the same time.
Is the name of the game.
And weapon effects operations. Craft and separate components aboard its test ship, several kiloton size bursts.
So you got some old military stock footage right here, or some newsreel.
Now their young bodies are crushed and racked with pain. Maybe they'll live and maybe they'll die. But one thing's sure, the next few minutes, hours, or maybe days, their lives will hang in the balance. And you'll have to live out those minutes, hours, and days knowing you were responsible.
And I plan to digitize more of this. I plan to digitize more of this content and to continue my de-interlacing efforts to process the, you know, bad visual artifacts that would otherwise come up.
Waiting to find out if the
I was also thinking about digitizing old commercials,
then the police are at you with questions. Where had you
that's
been?
a little bit, you know, like crazy. I mean, really, I don't have time for that.
Sure, why not? After all, you'd only had a few beers. You're not drunk. Of course you're not drunk. Not common sense.
Never.
But your driving ability was measurably impaired.
Not us, never.
How could it be? You feel fine.
Hey, what up, Star Wars
but
Insider?
What you didn't know was that it only takes a few
See, you got a
beers
facelift today. Hope you're doing well.
edge off your driving performance and slow your reaction time.
Yeah, Star Wars Insider. He plays some pretty cool
It's a
Star Wars
sedative,
games. I mean, like,
a
I love
depressant.
almost all of the Star Wars
the
games
first
I've
few
ever
drinks
owned.
make you feel more alive and responsive. But actually, as the alcohol enters the bloodstream, it slows down normal operation of the heart and nerve centers and depresses the inhibitory mechanisms of the brain. It removes inhibitions and
VJ
social
Ronnie G.
restraints. This is what gives us the feeling of stimulus. The process about narrowly take to pass him. True enough, until it is safe to drive. Harrison.
So, like, you get a lot of education here. Like, you know, basically don't drink and drive until you have a certain amount of time between your beer.
Many blood. We watch now. You watch? I watch. I like. Echo.
I'm gonna get myself in trouble with this. Okay, so this one here, yep, see, This is an ultra widescreen scene now.
So it was your idea.
So this has letterbox on it, but even this one I had to stretch it out to make it fit on a regular widescreen monitor.
Thought you'd find my weak
Never,
spot,
really?
but still,
Never?
you failed.
Have you ever before? No, I'm kidding. I'm just pulling your leg. I mean, like, also, like, some alcohol is better, right? Like, wine, red wine is somewhat healthy to an extent. But many types of alcohol can also make people fat, so that's always a valid concern, too. It really, you think so? Problem with doing this as a Monday show, David Glenn, I'll read your chat. He said, David Glenn goes, if you have more of these old newsreels, that would make for a great Monday night late show episode. Your comments on the history of the subject covered in the old film would be cool. Okay, so you know what? That's something that I will put on the table. Okay, I appreciate that feedback. That's kind of what I was looking for, you know? And only concern I'd have is playing these things during a live stream could be risky because of the whole copyright claim detection and all of that crap, but we could probably find a, you know, workaround for that.
He's here as well. But where? Where?
Well, now your iron skin is finished. Now make him confess. Put him in.
So I cleaned my model, and now we're gonna paint it in a second. I'll switch the camera over when we're done cleaning it.
Well, go on, confess.
So that's the thing, like, I like Rumble, but I don't like setting up my streams on Rumble. It's like, I gotta, like, practice. There's, like, a number of things I need to just tinker with and practice. I might even make this Monday a test stream where I do all the scientific experiments that I need to do to make things easier in the future, because it's a real issue. Like, you know, like, streaming on Rumble is good when it works, but there's some tricks, you know, to it, you know, and, like, wait. Ever since I got the stream elements set up, I can stream a little more easily, like, which is cool. But even that has some, you know, issues where it's like, you know, like, there's certain things I have to do pre-stream. Now, luckily, I figured out how to schedule streams. That's something I used to not know how to do. Yes, DoD trading film should be copyright free. Because, I mean, my tax dollars paid for it. But you gotta remember the time, do you remember the story of Aaron Russo? So Aaron Russo was the young man who, was a student at MIT, and he had this big thing about, like, you know, making like, research, any peer-reviewed research available to the average person. Because, like, we paid the taxes. That's the research that we taxpayers paid for. But he got in big trouble. Because, well, they have a surveillance video of him going into a room with his laptop. What he would do is, as an MIT student, you're allowed to get free, as a student in many universities, you get free access to JSTOR. And JSTOR is like an academic journal website where they store, like, research papers and anything that's been published, basically, like, of that sort. But the problem was that, you know, you can't get access to printouts on JSTOR unless you have an account that costs, like, thousands of dollars. Or if you're a university student who gets access as part of your, you know, tuition fees, I suppose. And so when Aaron Russo was, like, trying to liberate the documents, he's like, look, he's like, these things are supposed to be in the public domain already. So I'm just doing the thing that's legal. But what happened was, the way they really nabbed him was, at one point, he goes into the server cabinet room, right? The room with the servers in it, or the network switching hardware. Because he wanted to not do it over Wi-Fi. You're downloading, like, hundreds of gigs of stuff, so you're like, you want to plug into the hardwired network connection. So he goes into a utility closet that's not locked, that's not secured, that has network switching gear in there, and they get him on like some shit like federal wire fraud or some insane crap like that. And he supposedly committed suicide. He probably did, but I don't know for certain. And when you know that you have like $1 billion fine over your head, and that there's no way you can imagine paying that, that eventually, you know, is gonna, you know, make some people make a bad decision, right? So that's in a nutshell what happened there. And when he, you know, after, you know, all of that. But my point is that, you know, why do they get to paywall these documents that us taxpayers paid for? And there may be a case to be made, because I know a lot of times people get the whole fair use thing wrong, or they don't make, you know, appropriate preparations to, you know, kind of like, you know, preemptively avoid being, you know, having their content taken down, I guess, you know. So unfortunately, like, people now, they'll have to like put that big text. Like I saw Tom and Jerry, you know, Tom Connor and Jerry were reviewing King Kong on deleted scenes of the channel, and they have like a, you know, a like, you know, watermark that they put on the screen, and it just says like, you know, like, this is fair use, here's our website channel logo, and it has the legal text about fair use. And so they're kind of making it clear, like, we are using this in accordance with fair use, and in the event that the copyright people are like, oh, you can't have that because it's not transformative, they're putting their watermark on top of it, because I guess the watermark makes it transformative, right? It's a derivative thing now as opposed to copying the original material. Let me see if I can get that video frame from my main monitor onto my whatchamacallit, you know, onto my desk cam. Alrighty, let's see here. We got some chat here. Yeah, it is annoying changing the key. Yeah, exactly. Changing the freaking, you got it, third and fourth second. Yeah, changing the, you know, the stream key every freaking time is like just annoying. Like, you know, it's like I want to be on both platforms because, like, I know I'm gonna get, but at the end of the day, I'm gonna get more viewership on YouTube, so I'm going to put more effort into that. I'm gonna, you know, like, I don't want to cannibalize my viewership. Another thing, so one of the things I need to test out next time I do a group stream is I need to make sure everyone who wants to put this stream on their channel can test it out and do it. Because that's the thing people do lately, is they'll multi-stream, right? And I have a mixed attitude on multi-streaming. I'll get to that in a moment. Yes, you remember, David, what happened to Aaron Russo. He seemed like one of, yeah, he was one of the good guys that started Reddit, and Reddit is, you know, otherwise a joke. And yes, Reddit is like real life 1984. Yes, Star Wars Insider. Reddit is censored, and as David Lynn says, it is pretty much full-on woke.
And watch the dog, okay?
Okay, Daddy, we will.
You know, there's things I like about Reddit as an informational repository and things of that sort, but there's a lot of more conventional forums that are still better resources on the whole, especially like when you see, like, I remember, like, I'll give you an example why Reddit sucks, or why people on Reddit suck. It's not just, you know, I mean, there's things I like about Reddit. I'm actually in charge of the, or I'm the founding moderator of r/Plasma TV. It's true, I am. But let's see. I'm going to show you an example. Now, I don't know if I trust Dr. John Campbell or not. But at the same time, like, there's a Reddit page called Data Hoarder. And if assuming John Campbell is a genuine guy, it's like he's trying to, you know, be positive. He's trying to share information that's important, right? You know, and things of that nature. So Data Hoarder, you would think would be a place that's good for me, right? r/Data Hoarder. Because I have like 40 terabytes on my home server, and I like to hoard data. I mean, I'm doing this thing with the digital capture of VHS content. So, you know, you get the idea, right? And so this guy is saying, oh, hey, Dr. John Campbell is going to be banned, and he wants to, you know, figure out the best way to hoard his videos. But real quick, Timagini Tube says, I was banned for Reddit for a year for speaking some truth some time ago. It's all censored. You're not allowed to run a social network unless you censor nowadays. Yeah, so that's a little murky, right? So fair use. I wish I had the exact text, but one of these days I'll do my own dive into that. Because I remember someone pointed out a provision, and it was literally a provision that shows how the tech giants, the companies, the content information, whatever you want to call it, distribution people, are trying to have it both ways. I mean, they do get it both ways. It's like, basically saying like they're not responsible if somebody says something on their platform that offends somebody else. But at the same time, they, at the same time, they're allowed to censor. And the reality is, like, in a public square, as they say, you can't censor, or, there's no expectation of censorship. In a public square, it's like you're under the First Amendment protections. But in a private environment, yeah, you're not protected by the First Amendment. So if I go into the lobby in a private place versus, like, I don't know, outside the place or something, I mean, bad example, but, like, it's just like one of these things where it's like a fine line, and so some people say we need to end Section 230. Some people say we need to reform it. I'd say reform it because the problem is if you end Section 230, you now create a situation where individuals can get sued, and you can just imagine like how much of a chilling effect that would have on free speech if like every time some wokeling didn't like something you said, they would accuse you of being racist and sue you for it. So like having that buffer where you don't get sued is nice, where the company running the website has to deal with that type of stuff to some extent. But it's a bit of a mess. And I mean, like, one friend argued that we need an internet bill of rights. And it's not a terrible idea. Like, I just like the Wild West. I like the more hands-off version of the internet, where, like, you know what I mean? Like, where people understand this is just the effing internet. Don't take it so fucking seriously. Chill the fuck out, that type of thing. Let's see here. So yeah, I left Reddit after getting death threats, all because I said that addiction is a psychological process. It has little to do with victimization. And look, I mean, if those people wanted to argue in good faith, they could say, well, here's my counter argument, instead of being dicks about it. I'm sure there's at least an argument, whether or not it's a good argument about victimization. But at the same time, it is a function of individual responsibility as well, to some extent, and I'm willing to, empathize with people who are addicted to all manner of substances if they, are in a bad spot and they need help, or if there's a novel solution. Like, I'm okay with, like, I don't know if I'm okay with this, to be honest, but I'm open-minded to the notion of having, like, a place where junkies can go to get their fix of heroin and, get it in a measured amount as opposed to overdosing on it, and you can say, oh, but that's state money, yada, yada, yada. But, having people calling ambulances from overdosing in the street is going to be pretty expensive as well. And so it might actually be cheaper to just have this stuff on hand, especially if you can grow, poppies efficiently and, you're giving them pharmaceutical grade stuff. That said, the claim is that, oh, they don't get high on it. They just, get the fix, which, okay, if that's true, that's great. But I know, like, when people do try to get high on that, the tolerance always goes up. And that's one of the challenges that, that are imposed by addiction, is the whole, like, what do you call it? Not ceiling effect, but, the tolerance going up. So let's see, what else we got here? Progressive conservatives. A PC party is that what it is? PC party is progressive. So I thought PC was a political correctness party. But let's see what this Tim McGinney says. Progressive conservatives are when helicopters, hey, would you like to have some coffee? He's good. I was just checking. The helicopter is so close, I thought he wanted coffee. Progressive conservatives, more liberal than liberals themselves. I'd equate them to an extreme version of the NDP. Oh, okay, yeah. So, see, that's like, yeah, that's National Democrat Party, I think. But correct me if I'm wrong. They were a failed party, always ruined our elections. Oh, yeah. It's just like when people, steal the vote from either side or whatever, which I have a mixed attitude on that. Yeah, the politics, it's just in general, you're right. It's a corruption thing, Joe Clark was the lead of that party. Section 230 is good for the most part. Yeah, for the most part, it's fine. That's why I'm against abolishing it. Like, I don't like these, like, reactionary attitudes. Like, we need to abolish Section 230 because you'll be doing a big favor to the establishment or the bad guys or whatever you want to call the people, the powers that be. You'll be doing them a big favor, mainly the media establishment. You'll be doing them a big favor if you end Section 230 altogether, you know, because like they can work with, like, they got their lobbyists, you know. Section 230 already gives us what we the people need, and you know, it's part of, you know, the problem to the bad guys. But you know, I don't really care about catering to the bad guys, right? You know, fuck that, screw them. Give me liberty or give me death or some shit like that, as one of those guys say. So anyway, yeah, money and power, da 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 da. Just turn off the screen, dude. Yeah, just turn off the TV, right? I agree. Anyone that played Call of Duty online has received death threats. Yeah, right. Seriously, that's like the thing is, like, turn off the screen, go to a different forum. You know, and that's the thing, like, David Glenn chose to leave Reddit. He chose, I don't want to be on Reddit. He didn't go and try to, like, change the, you know, Reddit and be like, you have to do things my way. Why? No, he's like, okay, I don't want to be here. Screw these people. Okay, so we're looking at the manual here because we need to double check the core fighter. I need to see if I can get a good picture of the paint job on. Ah, my masking tape got stuck. It's really hard to see, but yes, it looks like I do have to mask the area in the middle of the wing, which is a little on the tricky side here. Yeah, technology amplified humanity's worst traits. That's a reasonable assessment. I miss the days when states would launch denial of service attacks on each other just to test out who had the biggest pipe connection on the net. Like T3 line beats T1 any day. I like to say, instead of talking to our neighbors, everyone just talks about them. Yeah. Two-party systems seem to be pretty shitty. Like, I mean, I don't know, like, if a coalition government is better or worse, but I do appreciate the idea of a coalition government, you know? Like, I appreciate alternatives, right? You know, like, there's something to be said about having options. And I think, like, when when you work, or when, you know, you look at the cable TV industry in America, people would argue sometimes that, like, oh, they should have, like, they should make, what do you call it, an a la carte structure, you know, where, like, you can get, like, whatever channel you want and not the ones you don't want. But the problem is that the companies that deliver channels, right, they, you know, make contracts that say, like, oh, you got to carry this crap if you're going to carry this crap. Oh, you can't have the basketball game unless you carry all of this Disney stuff, too. You know, that might be something that ESPN under Disney ownership would have done, right? So that's part of it. And sometimes lawmakers will try to, you know, demagogue it. They'll be like, oh, I'm going to try to do this. And, you know, then they give up on it when they realize that they need campaign contributions or something. Or maybe they realize it's just not an important issue, you know. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just moving the masking tape away from the middle so that I can paint only the blue area and leave this white gap in the middle. So that's what we're looking at. And I think the idea of a coalition, I mean, you know, third or fourth, I can see why there's appeal to that concept. I mean, like, how do I phrase it? Like, you know, getting groups of individuals to work together instead of this, like, BS where it's always like, I don't know, like, so there's only, I don't know if this is an issue with coalitions, but I generally like the concept. I do. But, like, I remember Ron Paul was pointing out observations about bipartisanship. And so he argued that bipartisanship wasn't always good. That's what gave us the Iraq War. You know, when both parties work together, they can both work together to do damage, you know? So that was, like, an interesting case against bipartisanship, you know, in my opinion. But at the same time, that's in American politics, and not everything in American politics has to translate to the rest of the world. All right. There we go. Now we got the tape masking applied. So we can move on to the next phase right after I pattern down this little spot here. Uh-huh. Uh-oh. So what else we got here? Who else we got here? I don't know what message was deleted. Oh, wait, I can see it. I just like to make sure. Oh my, Tim McGeady, great. Good to see you again. Oh, bummer. Come on, y'all. Please. Come on. I don't want drama. I mean, like, you know, look, why can't we all just get along? I mean, like, you know, fight on Discord or some shit. I was thinking about opening up a fucking Discord to air out drama and to air out grievances, you know, so that, like, if, like, one friend has an issue with another friend, although I don't know if I know you, Space Force Gaming, but, you know, like, if a friend has an issue with another friend, they could maybe, like, hash it out, or at least explain to me, like, on both, like, both people could just explain to me privately, like, what the problem is or something, and then I could decide if there's, like, any way I can assist in a diplomatic solution, or if it's just a matter of, you know, these two people have differences. But it's like, it puts me in an awkward spot, because it's like, okay, now I got to decide, like, who to, you know, filter or not filter, you know. It's just like, come on, mans, you know. And I don't want either party feeling uncomfortable. I get that sometimes just the very presence of someone doesn't get along with is enough to make them uncomfortable, but then the other person is like, oh, I left because I didn't want to, you know, contribute to the drama. And it's like, I don't know, I mean, like, I'm willing to hear both sides of an argument, but at the end of the day, it's like, I can't hold a grudge on either party if I don't experience, you know, anything, but at the same time, I don't want to undermine the experience of somebody who may feel like who were done dirty, if they genuinely were done dirty, you know? So, anyway, yeah, should I start a Discord so people can fight? Like, I'm all for this. We could do fucking, like, full-on battle royales here, okay? Like, we'll fucking set up a Discord, and then if someone is mad at somebody else in my chat, I would demand that they show up. Like, I would be like, okay, you just issued an order for a duel, and just let people fight, you know? Like, just let them fight in my Discord, you know? And stuff, you know. So is that something we should be doing? I mean, would people enjoy watching people fight on a Discord attached to my channel, you know? Should I create a second channel for battle royales to prevent tainting the channel? I mean, I don't know, but I just those are some of the thoughts that go through my head when it comes to that type of thing, you know. And I, once again, am not trying to invalidate anyone's feelings, but at the same time, I can't join a dog pile or anything like that unless I know sufficiently more. And this is one of the issues with, like, throwing out wrenches, but on the other hand, like, this is why when I did, like, a stream a few weeks ago, I go, oh, I need to dole out more wrenches, and then right after that I said, maybe I don't. But at the same time, it's like, you know, I mean, I guess, like, whoever says the aggressive words first or says the negative thing first sort of, like, you know, started it in the context of my stream. And I don't know who started the war. I only know who started the battle, right? The altercation, the verbal altercation. I could identify who started the most recent one, and that's it. And it's, once again, it's like the fucking chicken or the egg, you know, like, what came first, you know? And at that point, we'll be here arguing about the Middle East all day. You know, it's like, oh, well, the Arabs did this. Oh, yeah? The Jews did this. Oh, yeah? 1,000 years ago, our Jewish villages were attacked by Arabs then. And then the other problem with the Israeli thing I have is just like that, you know, who's there from the past and who's there just from Europe who happens to be of that religion? Because it's like, that just confuses me. It's like, well, does that group have a right? And then people go, oh, well, these guys are nomads, so they don't have a right to land. And then things get complicated because the Ottoman Empire made a mess of that situation. I mean, in a way, the Ottoman Empire, before they lost World War II, was already an empire in decline. And they were kind of shoddy about keeping records by that point, you know, because normally an empire is all about keeping good records, or at least that's a big part of being an empire, right? Like, the Roman Empire wouldn't be what it was without its bureaucracy, or at least the bureaucracy, say what you will about bureaucrats, but you need a bunch of paper pushers when you're running a empire of scale. And unfortunately, there were a lot of promissory notes signed during the end of the Ottoman era. But anyway, real quick, we'll go back to that Reddit post, but I don't know the other guy. I might know the other guy. I don't know if I know the other guy, to be honest. And I don't know you that well either, but I know that anytime I've interacted with you in the chat, Timberghini, you've been nice to me and shit. So, you know, like, that's all that matters to me. You know, it's like anything. And look, even if you like, you know, like I've had one friend here who, like, you know, expresses disdain towards another viewer or member of the channel or whatever. And at the same time, like, you know, like they're expressing it. That's their, you know, opinion or experience. The other guy did the same, except difference is that I don't think I know the other guy. So it's like it's unprecedented for me if I don't even know the guy, I guess, right? You know, so it's like, you know, so I got a little bit less tolerance of people hating on people in the chat if I've never met them before. Whereas I'm going to be a little more tolerant if I already know a friend, right? If I already know a person, I'm going to be a bit more tolerant, okay? You know, it's just, that's at least how I'm handling things at the moment. And the Discord might be funny. Also, the Discord might make it easier for me to have multiple people on the same stream. I just haven't felt like getting into the mechanics of figuring out how to set that all up and, you know, worrying about time delay. Yeah, I'm just going to go take it upon myself to block... Hey, what up, Iceman? So I think I'm just going to take it upon myself to... Let's double check here. I'm going to go through the history of Mr. Hydra and determine if... Yeah, no offense, Hail Hydra, but I don't know why you're doing the ABCs. I don't know if you're one of those people with multiple accounts, but I just don't feel like dealing with shit. So there we go. Done. All right, good. Okay, so yeah, I just don't know. Like, I wish Hail Hydra, you know, is welcome to... Not now. No, Hail Hydra is no longer welcome to explain why they give me the fucking ABCs. But I'm just gonna block them just to keep my chat clean. Probably the same guy. Hope it's not my friend. If it is my friend, I hope my friend comes to me, gives me a way to DM them so we can have a conversation. You know, like, I'm all about that dialogue and shit. If it's someone I don't know, then I couldn't care less if I have a dialogue with them. What caller guy? I don't even know if there's a caller guy here. Was there a caller guy here? Oh, the other guy, yeah. Look, I come in peace. I want people to have peace back and forth. That's all I fucking want, you know? So real quick here. So Reddit. That's what I was talking about. So here we are on Reddit, and you can see here, this guy basically saying he thinks that Campbell is a national hero, and let's see here. Wait. Dr. John Campbell went from basically national hero to apparently vaccine hating and far right pandering anti-Chinese advocate now. Now, if you have a valid criticism of China, I don't think that necessarily makes you anti-Chinese. You know, just reality. But no, this is the wrong guy here. So I'm looking for the guy who, here we are. Hi, I recently discovered John Campbell's YouTube channel, and he's one of the more recent videos he mentioned that he's received a strike against his channel for proliferating misinformation, yada, yada, yada. So this guy's saying, hey, look, I'm thinking about letting the YouTube downloader grab his channel at 480p. If anyone has it, can you tell me how much space it's going to consume? So he wants to know how many gigabytes or terabytes it's going to take to download all of John Campbell's videos at 480p. Okay, this is definitely something that you would ask at Data Hoarder, right? These are people who talk about hoarding data. They talk about archiving. These assholes on Data Hoarder are like a bunch of little bitches. Not all of them, but the moderators are. But they even like they did like a whole thing right after January 6th. They were like they sound like they're really like in it to dox people. So if you like somewhere here, there's a post January 6th archiving or some crazy shit like that, and like. They're clearly showing their political colors, right? Because they're really in it to, like, collect evidence to get people in trouble, you know? And then look, they even got the ISO images of the complete MSNBC coverage of January 6th committee hearings. Archiving Parler post from January 6th. You know, it's like those people should have been free to keep posting things on Parler. And what's funny is that plenty of the meetings that occurred on January 6th were coordinated on fucking Facebook. We didn't shut down Facebook, but then people are saying that, oh, Parler got shut down because people said they wanted to kill this politician. And it's like, well, number one, most of the people who are saying that didn't like that politician, Pence, like a year earlier, but now suddenly they care enough about his well-being to like see to it that entire site gets shut down. Now, of course, Parler made the mistake of relying on AWS, but it is like, yeah, I just don't like the double standards. I don't like double standards. I actually even deleted my Twitter account and blocked all of them after Lorenzo's recent stream. Which one was that? I tuned into part of Lorenzo's stream, but I got tied up. And what happened was I was going to rejoin the stream after I rode my bike, but I went to record the video where I unboxed this ship, which I'm supposed to be editing tonight. And while recording my unboxing video, you know, the stream ended, but I was gonna be joining. I just wanted to hang out, say hi to people and shit, and you know, exchange thoughts. But at the same time, like, yeah, just like I don't want any part of YouTube drama really, but at the same time, like, I'm willing to empathize to an extent, but really, I'm not in it for the drama at all. Like, I'm in it for other people's drama. Like, sure, like from a distance, drama could be interesting. But I really don't want to be, like, up close to the freaking drama, you know? Like, it's not at all in my interests. So anyway, we want to paint the Gundam thing. Now, I'm going to use a straight Gundam blue because I think that's the correct color shade for a, you know, for this type of Gundam. So I need to find a blue Gundam marker, which is right here. And we're going to spray it over by my keyboard and maybe put a little piece of paper here to block the stuff. So AWS is Amazon Web Services. It is basically the website that, it's like a cloud hosting provider, basically. And you can do a lot of cool things there. So real quick, I do want to read what they said here. So the main moderator on here said, misinformation or praise of this nut job will be removed on here. So it's like right off the bat, it's like, motherfucker, you're supposed to be like, well, I would think he's not supposed to be anything, but if it's about data hoarding, just let the data exist. Let people make the decision. I mean, sure, you can hate on it, but let the data exist. But instead, he's like gonna hate on it and prevent it from existing on his stupid website, right? I'm leaving this post up here because there are legitimate reasons to archive these crackpot theories and have mostly been debunked. But otherwise, comments will be removed if they try to frame his misinformation as truthful at all. And look, I get it, but like, I don't think he's always wrong, or, you know, maybe he's in it for the money, maybe he's in it for the clicks, okay? I get that. And the minute he stopped, you know, talking favorably about the mainstream narrative, he got more clicks, more views, John Campbell. But, like, it's just so annoying because at one time people would see, oh, look at this guy, he's helping out, he's spreading, you know, information, he was such a good guy. And the minute he goes against the mainstream narrative, these people pounce on the guy like he's some kind of asshole. And it's like, have a fucking dialogue. Give a competing narrative. I remember there's this doctor lady named Dr. Jean Oliver. Let's see if we can find this broad. Dr. Campbell, Dr. Oliver. It might be like spelled differently. But there's this like Australian lady with a creepy ass smile. See, like look how creepy she is. And so what happened was she was on Campbell, and then a while later she like basically refuted or, you know, disavowed herself of Dr. Campbell. And I wish I could find, and one of the things was that you'll see like Twitter comments, Dr. You know, like you'll see Twitter comments, here we are, back to the science, where people like say, hey, don't you have a financial interest in the mRNA patent or some shit like that? Don't quote me exactly. And then she'll respond, no, I retired from that research lab or, you know, institution. And it's like, well, that doesn't necessarily mean you're not getting any money from that thing that you co-patented or whatever contributed to. And, you know, like for example, like, okay, so, look, I don't know for certain if excess deaths are bullocks. I really don't, you know, and I'm sure there's plenty of reasons why there's excess deaths. For example, if during the pandemic, people had a tumor and they were less likely, let's say you get a headache. You got a headache during the pandemic. And you go, oh, my head really hurts. Let's go to the hospital. I go, hey, you got a fucking tumor. Or let's say I bump my head falling off a ladder. And I say, you know what? I don't want to get COVID. Let's just deal with this at home and not go to the hospital because I got a concussion. But a lot of times when people go to the hospital for a concussion or something routine, that's when they accidentally spot cancer, and that could save their lives as opposed to finding it too late. So yes, I'm open to the notion that there are other explanations for excess deaths. But I don't know, I just don't like the attitude of these, like, you know, these pro-science to a fault type people. And especially when they have, like, financial interest tied up in the mainstream narrative and they have creepy smiles. Whereas Campbell, yes, she can make a valid argument that he's getting more clicks from speaking against the narrative, but getting more clicks for speaking potential truth doesn't make it invalid. And I mean, I'm not saying it is truth. I'm just saying, you know. So, yeah, I don't know. I just hate closed-minded bullshit. But let's see what else we got in the chat here. Freedom of speech is only valid when it fits the narrative. Just look at the end of this stream and you'll see. Oh, the end of his stream. Yeah. Oh, okay, so I got you. Thank you. Not worth discussing. Once again, some sort of attention cover is not worth having. Okay. But like, I mean, like, look. I mean, I think sometimes everyone's got to agree to disagree. But I also understand. It's loud. That's why I was muting. But, like, yeah, I mean, I get it, you know. And I know people get into arguments. Like, sometimes people will try to have the edgy take. But it'll be like the edgy mainstream take, you know, where it's like, you know, I didn't see you guys speaking out on this when these guys were doing the thing. And it's like, well, still doesn't make it right on either end, but okay, you know. So let's see, I'm just putting some paper on my desk. I want to try to cover up my keyboard so I don't have to clean it later. Then I'll show you guys here. So we can usually take a piece of paper or an envelope and paint it. Oh, I got a Gundam F91, yo. This thing's fire. Yeah. Alright, let me just look for something I can spray as a test. Okay, I got some chopsticks here. So, here's where things get a little tricky here. You got to turn the knob to max to start the device, right? $1984 once again. Huh. As you see, the marker sort of like loses a little bit of steam very quickly. So these Gundam markers, you actually press down on them to prime them. So you do this, you press down, and if there's any ink in there, which maybe there's no ink left, but I think there's a little bit of ink. I can hear the paint in there, so we'll give it a good... But, you know, I mean, I just hope people can put aside their differences and, you know, whatnot, but I know how it is. Okay, so we got an okay coat. Now, it's not perfect. See, I'm still learning the technique, but I'm not so inclined to, like, scrape off the paint and start over, you know, after every time I make a mistake. So, I'm just gonna have to live with it, you know what I mean? Gonna head to the grocery store. Hopefully I'll see you all later on Snowed Up Show. Yes, after I sign in for my other account. Because of a little glitch that causes some people not to be visible in the chat, like me. But, you know, I mean, like, I guess, like, what it comes down to, look, I mean, well, I'm not going to open up a can of worms right now. I just, you know, hope people who might get mad at me for, like, being neutral respect my position enough to understand without hating on me, you know? But at the same time, you can't live life worrying about if people like you and stuff. But, you know, I do concern myself maybe more than I should about that at times. Some people I don't want to be liked by. Some people I couldn't care less if they didn't like me. And then there's other people where it's like it does, you know, hit a little bit. You're like, you know, I do care if that person likes me, perhaps, you know? But it's good to have an outcome-independent attitude, especially when it comes to women. I just think it generally helps. So I think I might get Mexican for dinner tonight, even though it's Sunday. Wait, it's Saturday. It feels like Sunday for me. So let me get that in focus here. Stay neutral. It's not worth discussing. One's getting low. I love debating people, but I can't debate with insanity. Ah, shit, I touched the paint. Oh, the paint dried so quickly. I was able to touch it. That's great. Yeah, so, like, large coverage with these Gundam markers is not nice. But with the paint thing, I think it'll be a lot easier and nicer. So that's why why I bought the paint thing, the airbrush, I mean. But, you know, I just hope nobody got hurt. Nobody hurt anyone's feelings, you know? I mean, I don't know the root of the debate, so I can't say if anyone got hurt. But, you know, like, I think sometimes, like, you know, you got to remember, sticks and stones may break my bones. But words will never hurt me. Except if I'm woke. No. But, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, there are situations where words can hurt, especially when the words spur on action that is negative, right? You know, so there's that. You know, it's like, that's why people have trouble with the climate change people, the stop oil now people, because just stop oil they get people scared, or people are already scared by the climate rhetoric. And so they think it's okay to run around and throw paint at a fucking art gallery on the wall, or Campbell's soup at the paintings. And I get it, the paintings are protected from the elements, but it's still like, it's vandalism. It's like, you know, if anybody on the other side of the political spectrum did that, they'd get the book thrown at them. And so it's only fitting if they get the book thrown at them, or at least we decide maybe, hey, you know, maybe we should be a little bit more lenient about certain things, you know? But a lot of times, like with certain types of things, like I'm out of the loop. With Eric July, I'm completely out of the loop. Like I don't know anything. I don't really, like I watched a few of his videos where it says monetize your haters, and that was kind of an interesting approach. Like it's like, oh, this guy doesn't like my comic. And it's true that, like, I mean, like people could say that, you know, he doesn't like want it on, he wants it both ways, but it is interesting. Like you'll see people complain about like the background of a comic. They'll be like, oh, there was a bust in the background that was drawn a little funny. It's like, is that all you got? You know, so like, I think that sometimes these Eric July videos are fun, and sort of elucidating on these little details. There's a girl by the name who I will not say, just because maybe that'll help keep me separated from the drama. I wonder if that's the same girl who got really like nasty one time about this Ethan Van Sciver thing. I mean, she really lost her shit. She was like, EVS was friends with a guy who got arrested for having this type of prawn on his computer. And it's like, okay, so by being, you know, on this Twitter friends list with some guy, we're gonna hang the guy over that? Is that what's happening? You know? So it's a little tricky. Somehow they're stalking me between streams. So it's okay. So that's good, because I was worried it was a different person, but I don't think it's the person who I think it is, which I'm relieved, because I don't think that person would get that involved in drama. But I appreciate it. I understand, Tim McGeady. I'm sorry that that's some bullshit you got to deal with. I mean, you know, like, I wish whenever there was drama, everybody involved would just give their fucking side of the story. But unfortunately, you know, I'm left here in mystery box mode, just kind of guessing who's right, who's wrong. But at the end of the day, like, if I don't bear witness to the person that they think is an asshole being an asshole, or vice versa, you know, what am I to do? Oh! So that's interesting. So it came out really hard that time. And I think we're just going to leave it. I think that's fine. It's not perfect, like, by any measure. But I'll live with it. You know, I'm still learning how to do this. and I just got a bunch of splatter all over the front, but that's all right. I'll deal with that on my own time. You know, that's pretty easy to clean. Especially I have another order of Gundam markers coming in. One of them, you know, I use alcohol to take off the excess marker, but you can use, they have a dedicated Gundam marker for removing, you know, you know, the paint marker material. So it's like a little bit more aggressive or stronger than alcohol. So it's a nice, you know, to have. Now, what is in this box here? Okay, I have a cleaning cloth. No screen protector. All right. I was going to do a live stream where I show me installing a special screen protector on my phone. It uses UV adhesive. It's very interesting, but I'm not going to do that today. But, you know, I'm just glad I could share and hang out and stuff. I appreciate everybody who came out. And, you know, just remember, come in peace. Come and go in peace when possible. I understand it's not always easy or possible. I can't tell people, like, to be diplomatic. I shouldn't be telling people to be diplomatic. I might do that when I shouldn't be doing it. But, you know, who am I to tell you or someone else to be diplomatic when I don't even know what the other person did? Like, if somebody spit in my eye and kicked me in the nuts, and then one day I'm walking down the street and I go and I yell at that person, like, you motherfucker, you know? And someone's like, Ron, slow down. You got to be diplomatic. That might infuriate me more. So, you know, I try to empathize, but ultimately I'm just pleased to be, you know, at a distance. Now, I do have one really bad item of bad news. Let's get the webpage up. I have two, I guess. So, stupid Google. Try to show me my history file. No. All right, there it is. This game, Macross Shooting Insight, like a few days ago, I was taking a dump, sitting on the toilet, like on a Tuesday night, and Google gives me an automatic countdown time. It goes, oh, it's coming out in 20 hours and 40 minutes, because it was scheduled to come out on January 25th. But then, the day it was going to come out, right before I go to check at midnight, I can't find it on Nintendo store, so I check again, and then Google was like, oh no, it's been delayed to March 14th. And I thought maybe this was just reported, but no. That was reported back in November. So Google gave me, like, you know, this automatic countdown ticker based on the original release date. But that should have been superseded by the unofficial release date. And another issue with this game is that there's going to be some DLCs on 0 day. Because if we look at this picture of characters on the cover, on the box art, you're going to see a number of characters from different Macross series, but what you're not going to see is Lin Minmay on the cover, apparently. And that's basically because of these cunts at Harmony Gold, the company that basically they were given licensing over the original SDF Macross to make it into Robotech. But they've basically, for the past 3 decades, Harmony Gold has been taking advantage of a legal loophole, arguably a legal mistake, in order to sit on it, to basically make it so that you don't even get I can't legally buy Macross 7 on Blu-ray with subtitles. I have to import this stuff. At one point, they added subtitles in Japan, and I think Harmony Gold might have tried suing over that and lost, because the Japanese courts are like, fuck you. It's our American courts that, for some reason, are like letting Harmony Gold get away with this bullshit. But it is Harmony Gold, and it is their fault that I have to go and buy the Japanese version of the Macross movie and add my own subtitles to it. I mean, I downloaded the subtitles, but point is I had to make sure they were synchronized and all of that crap. And I suspect that's one of the reasons the game was released. Maybe it was due to quality, but I bet you there was a lot of time spent in court or with lawyers dealing with each other to ensure that, like, Harmony Gold gets their piece of the pie. So one of the reasons why characters from the original Macross series or DLC add-ons on day one is basically so that they don't have to give money to Harmony Gold for the game, right? Because these characters, they don't need to give money to Harmony Gold or something like that, you know, roughly. But to have other characters in the game, they do have to give money to Harmony Gold. So logically, if you make those additional characters DLC, Harmony Gold only gets the money for the DLC, not for the entire game, which I think is a smart move on their part. But I wish Harmony Gold would just go under. They're more of a real estate company. Literally, it's a company that makes more money on real estate than they do on the cartoon that they are constantly sitting on top of to, like, make more money off of that. It's a really messed up situation. And I mean, I know a lot of people got into, anime because of Robotech, but Super Dimension Fortress Macross is better. One of these days, maybe I'll do a video. Maybe that's the Monday show. Maybe that's the Monday show. Maybe I'll do that this Monday. Maybe I'll get Pop Culture Mechanic on if he's available. Or at a future date, I would ask him if he wants to be available for that. Because might make a script for that one. Making a script would make it a little more cohesive and organized and make it easier for me to stay on track. And I can share the script with the other person on the show so that they can, peruse it and maybe add something to it, or at least be on the same page as me. And ideally, I would love for the, contribution, collaborative contribution, so that, I'm not the only one speaking, or, I'm not the only one coming up with things to talk about. At least I want to give the person the opportunity to insert their opinions, right? That's the one thing I think I could do better at, is not so much talking less, but letting other people talk. And I that's why I enjoyed having Mike Pacific 414, Baron Orman Tag, whose YouTube channel is Fandom Legacy, and Cash Money. I enjoyed having them, and who else? I had one more guy on, I think, didn't I? Oh yeah, and Jason Fox from 542 Studios, or 540 Studios. But all of these people were great to have on, and they allowed me to kind of minimize the amount of time I spent talking, or at least to strike a good balance. So that was really cool to have them on. But I think we covered enough ground. It's 8:09. I think it's time to get ready for dinner, get ready for showering for work tomorrow. I don't think I'm going to get any editing done during the present stream. So I might as well just edit after the stream, right? So yeah, at some point we will be moving this over to Rumble or the other place. Oh, one more thing I want to cover. Let's make a video about this. Okay, give me 1 second. Let me just get a couple of things on screen here. I'm actually going to record a video, I think. I don't know if I'm going to use it, to be honest. Oh, Baron Orman Tag is on. Okay, go to this mother effer, right now. You think I'm kidding, but I'm not.
Which is one of the Star Wars
shoot.
Disney's doing. They want to answer all these questions and destroy the mystery. George Lucas even did that a bit with Boba Fett.
Right.
Destroyed
That's my boy Baron right there. So go to him. Tell him that DJ sent you if you want.
Need to know everything about Spock's past. We got little pieces of it, especially the brilliant animated episode yesteryear.
So I'll make this real quick. So where is it? So this guy's interesting. He would do these videos called Clown World, where he would make fun of mainstream news and things that would be patently bull crap, right? And I appreciated his perspective on things. Alrighty, let's just toggle the chat real quick. Actually, I gotta clean this up. I want to make it a clean video. Alrighty, I want to really briefly share a video. And yeah, generally, this guy is really cool for sure, as my boy in the chat says right over here. I'll put that. Oh, there you are. So he says, Carl Vernon is cool for sure. And yeah, I mean, it's mostly cool. Did I unsubscribe? Oh yeah, I did unsubscribe from him. I mean, I'm on the fence about it. I'm thinking about resubscribing maybe. But my issue with the guy was, okay, he makes some very based content. He makes fun of mainstream BS. Okay, it's pretty funny stuff that he covers, and some of it's important, But then he does a retarded video, and I'm sorry, maybe I'm wrong for saying it's retarded. Oh no, he has multiple channels. Okay, so, wait. Is this it? No, this is his. Okay, no, this is the one. So I don't know if I can find it. It's weeks old. How many weeks ago was the Indian space probe landing date was what, September 24th. So, okay, October, November, December, January. It's about 3-4 months back. So I gotta go about 4 months back. I must find this real quick. It's like, I get it, like these paper mache aliens, yeah, they're bullshit. This mayor of London, he's a fucking dumb fuck, that mayor, no doubt about it, you know? So, I'm not trying to hate on Carl Vernon, but at the same time, like, I do have to point out something that annoyed me, or at least I feel like, you know, should be, that is open to debate, you know? And I think he's the one who's wrong about it, and I hope I can find it right now so I don't have to just describe the video. I'd rather, if I'm gonna say I don't like something, I'd rather show you guys the thing I don't like. So let me just see if I can find that. That's true too, yeah. Like, one thing I did learn was that everyone's allowed to be wrong about a few things, you know? Like, that is a good point, really, because, like, I think, like, a lot of times people will just, like, hear one bad take from someone they don't like, and that'll be it. They'll be like, oh, I don't like that person anymore because they said this thing I don't like, or I disagree with this one perspective, therefore they are terrible. And it's like, you know, get over yourself, you know? It's like, it's just one point, but it is enough in this case, I think. I mean, like, I'm not saying that, I don't want to sound like the climate people about, you know, freaking, like, space and say, oh, well, if you don't believe in the moon landing, you're dumb and wrong. But his reasoning in the video he did, I thought was dumb and wrong, and so I need to find it. Okay, that was too recent. Could have been about 3 to 4 months ago. So let's go to the extreme end of 4 months. Can't be more than 4 months, I don't believe, right? So that was when the Indian space probe landed on the moon, or approached the moon. Okay, that's one of his IRL videos, I guess. Okay. That's interesting. Vaccine exemption videos. He does cover the hypocrisy in the mainstream media and, you know, in governments amongst elected officials and appointees. He is very opinionated, and sometimes that's a perfectly valid thing, right? To be validly, you know, to have a valid opinion that is strong, because, you know, in the face of madness, somebody's got to do it. Plus, I'm just looking at every thumbnail here until I find what I'm looking for. If I don't find it, I'll just describe it, but I'm really hoping I can find it. Maybe it was a short video. Or maybe he uploaded it more recent than when it happened. It was a pretty short video too. It wasn't a terribly long video. Uh-oh. Okay, we're going to start with this. So, once again, like I said, I have no issue with this guy. Carl Vernon is an alright guy. Makes good content mostly. Has funny takes and reality-based takes on things. That said, I never watched this video, but I'm going to express my opinion on it as we watch it. Usually he plays...
Of course, you Google it.
Music.
You Google everything now, don't you? Google is everything. It's the answer to everything. You have a question. You don't go to books. You don't go to...
That's 9 minutes.
Insight or the power, right? Anyway, going back to what I was saying. If you Google, why is the sun the same size as the moon? It comes up with this answer. Believe it or not, it actually is just a coincidence.
I mean, I don't have an issue with the size of the moon being a coincidence. Like, it's not that they're the same size, that they're the same apparent size, the same angular resolution. Now, it would be nice if maybe mainstream science went a little further in trying to figure that out, but it's not terribly important to me. Like, at the end of the millennium, the moon will be smaller than the sun when there's an eclipse. At some point, the moon won't be the perfect size for a lunar eclipse. At one time it wasn't, and in the future it won't be again. Now, does this apparent size of the moon and the sun, you know, somehow contribute to human civilization's growth? Maybe there's a correlation there. Maybe that's why, as a civilization, you know, spanning millennia, humanity has lived in a time where the sun and the moon are the same size. Maybe there is a relationship between our ability to exist and that. But I mean, if it's not a coincidence, or if there's, you know, something more to it, what is the other answer? Are you gonna say it's God? I mean, that's cool if you believe in God, but like, what is the answer? Aliens put it there? You know, like,
just a beautiful coincidence, ladies and gents.
So he's got this very incredulous
Believe
laughter.
it or not, it actually is just a coincidence, and a happy one at that. It's a happy coincidence, guys. The moon and the sun have virtually the same angular size in our sky because the sun is about 400 times wider than the moon. But get this. But it's also about 400 times farther away. So that's why the sun is about the same size as the moon, because they are pretty much the same shape. And the sun's about 400 times wider than the moon, but it's also about 400 times farther away. And that is why they're about the same size. What a beautiful coincidence.
I'm actually glad I picked this video. So, I don't know, he thinks it's a big joke that, you know, that these numbers are real, or he doesn't think the numbers are real, obviously. And is it because, you know, some people just have trouble wrapping their head around large numbers, so therefore it must be fake? But yeah, that kind of annoys me, because these are things that you can independently verify. Like, you don't need mainstream science to do parallax measurements. You do have to maybe take certain things at face value, certain precepts at face value, but you can pretty much, you know, take the measurements if you're willing to utilize the equipment necessary. And this is why I know the Earth is not flat. It's not because I've been in space and saw the Earth, you know, being round. I have not been to space. I have not been in orbit, you know. But to use a German equatorial telescope mount, I have to polar align it against Polaris, or in particular against the celestial North Pole. And of course, you know, what is that? Well, anybody who's arguing that the Earth is flat and doesn't know what that is, I mean, is already at a disadvantage. You know, they are already ill-equipped to have a debate on, you know, whether or not the Earth is flat. And I'm not saying he's a flat Earth, I'm just giving an example. And so what I would usually do is, like, I would go and turn on the equatorial grid, and you'll notice that these circles are blocked by the ground in my southern sky. And you know why? Well, let's take a look at the northern sky. And look at that, there's a circle up here. And if we fast forward or rewind, you'll notice that everything rotates like this. So the sun's gonna rise right there. And so basically you can see that these blue lines are wrapping around the entire Earth. And that's the equatorial grid. And I was just talking about your pop culture mechanic. We'll get to you in a minute. In a good way, don't worry. So what you're seeing here is we're at 41 degrees latitude, New York City in particular. This is roughly where Polaris and the North, you know, and the celestial North Pole are located, 41 degrees latitude. And this angle of 41 degrees, I can literally take a sextant or a protractor and measure that angle at 41 degrees. It coincides with my latitude. And if I was to go all the way to the North Pole, guess what? This thing that's at a 40-degree angle, like literally it's like at this angle, about like roughly that angle. If I went to the North Pole, instead of being here, that would be here. So that center of that circle would be directly over my head if I was standing on the North Pole. and there's a celestial North Pole and a celestial South Pole. And the point is, you can't have this on a flat Earth. And of course, flat earthers could argue that, oh, but you've never been below the equator, Ron. Like, all right, fair enough. But other people have. And frankly, it's on the flat earthers. Get your fat ass on a plane. Go to fucking every southern hemisphere city and prove to me or demonstrate to me that based on the time that you took a picture, that your observations match up with something other than a globe. So my issue with Carl Vernon was when he did a video about, and here's the azimuthal grid. So now there's a dome over my head, right? And this is just like, this is just basically like a personal point of reference, like a local dome grid. But this is like, the locations of everything will vary based on the time and the location that you are standing. And you can use both grids together. And I often do because I like to know, you know, when is an object, like this is a star, and at one point in the night, the star was over here. I want to know, will this object fly directly overhead where I'll get a better picture? Or will it get blocked by the tree that is in my neighbor's backyard? So anything below this blue line is going to rise and set and get blocked by a tree in a shorter amount of time. So, in a nutshell, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just don't really need to hear the rest of the video. I guess I could give it a chance, but it looks like he's going to flash some memes and, you know, be incredulous about how ridiculous it is that, you know, these numbers are so big.
Oh, there's plenty of others. I'll do one more. Very limited. Again, goes back to my earlier point about...
And this is something that I get with a coworker. He'll argue that the sun's gravity should override the moon's gravity, and therefore tides are not accurately explained or some shit like that. And it's like, you basically jump into conclusions. You're saying, I have a preconceived notion, and some guy who I think I trust confirmed my bias, and that's what people run with. So anyway, I don't want to fixate, but the last thing I want to say is, here's the Indian space probe. This is the Chandrayaan probe. I'm not pronouncing that right. And when they landed on the moon, they showed this animation. So you got the president watching, and you got the animation in mission control. And you can see the thrusters. And so what happened was, I saw a Carl Vernon video where he plays this animation. And he plays the animation of the artificial cartoon thrusters, right? And he goes, well, it should look funny. It is funny looking because it's an animation. This is not, like, ISRO, the Indian Space Agency, did not put this cartoon up on screen and say, here's a picture of the real lander. No, this is like a point of reference. These little thruster firings here are animated based on telemetry. I mean, why are you lolling? I mean, it is an animation. This one's an actual animation. Like, it literally is, like, you know, like, that's, it's not a good picture because it's not supposed to be, you know? And I mean, I get that some people might think it's the real probe. I don't know why they would think that. But Carl Vernon was trying to make the case that that you should think that this whole thing is fake because they used a cartoon. And I mean, this is not the first time they've done this. And, well, that being besides the point, I mean, like, okay, here's another example in a nutshell. Let's say they chased the probe around with a camera and they sent live video back. People would argue that, where's the second probe? How is that possible? I mean, hell, when Neil Armstrong and Buzz walked onto the moon, people were saying, how did they have a camera outside before there was somebody outside? Number one, that would be a really stupid mistake to make if you were trying to pull off a hoax. But number two, there is a camera on, like, a little arm on the side of the lander. And with wide-angle lenses, you can do a lot of things, you know? So it's not as ridiculous as it seems. You know, you could deploy an external camera to watch the guy land, and they basically didn't do as much. So, I don't know. That was my issue with Carl Vernon in a nutshell. But, you know, otherwise, I think he does pretty decent work. And as for you, Pop Culture Mechanic, great. Now I got to edit this video so that I don't have, like, two different things overlapping. But, yeah, at some point, I think I'd like to discuss Macross with you on a future stream if you're interested. So I'll shoot you a Discord message or a Twitter message or something and give you like my you know, like not script, but you know, like outline or whatever, and you can decide if that's something that interests you or if you have anything that you want to do differently or recommend in general. So yeah, but I don't know, like it's not like, you know, like, so my issue is, I'm sorry. So when Carl Vernon did his live stream, his video about this little clip where you see the, you know, Indian probe, he he played this video clip of people laughing incredulously. Like there's like this like movie clip people will play anytime they see something ridiculous, and it's basically a guy who's laughing obnoxiously. He'll be like ha 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 ha, and the idea is like a mocking laughter, you know, and it was just like, well, it only makes sense if you assume that this, if you think this is a real picture, or this is that they're trying to pass this off as a real picture, and they were not trying to do that. Now, it would be nice if they showed the picture in the background we're looking at here. Ah, bum, I lost it. That's like, I think, the actual lander right there landing. Like that's like the side of the lander. That would have been like the better you know, choice to do. So let's see if we can find a picture of the actual lander. And yeah, they do put out a lot of animations because they don't usually park these with external cameras. So they have to give us like, you know, these animations, you know, but we're going to try to find a, you know, maybe a side camera or something like that. Something like pointing at the ground. Because that's not it. I don't think that's got to be like a nice photoshopping too. I mean, I don't think that's a real picture. It could be. Is it? How'd I get that picture? Is that on a boom arm? Someone's gonna give me shit for it. They'd be like, here we go. That's a real picture. I mean, people can pretend it's not. That's cool. Or, I mean, everyone's entitled to question if the picture is legitimate, right? No, I don't want to support global news. How do I? No, I'm not turning off my pop-up blocker for these cunts. I'm really not. We're gonna like delete the little pop-up right here right now. You think I'm kidding? I'm straight up deleting the pop-up blocker thing here. I'm like, get off my screen, you mother effers. Now the problem is I can't scroll down now. Oh, I hate these assholes. Oh, did that work? No, it didn't work. Whatever, I'll just turn off my stupid pop-up blocker. I need to come up with it. He's like, you know, I'm sorry, like, I don't like these mainstream news sites who are assholes and acting like they're arbiters of truth. So I don't think they deserve ad revenue. But, you know, I think that looks real. And then let's get a picture of the lander real quick, because one of the things like I like about the lunar lander is like it looks like they slapped it together in someone's garage over the weekend. And that might make it look fake, but if anything, I would say that makes it look real. And the reason I say that is because if you wanted to fake, you know, any type of moon landing, what you would do is you'd make it look sleeker, right? You'd make it look like, you know, sleek, so people could argue that, oh, okay, so they had a rover on there. That's how they got pictures from the outside. Okay, that makes sense. So anyway, you know, like, this is my Lost Space blanket. I use it to some extent. I've used it to pretty great effect, actually. It's got some, you know, useful properties, and it doesn't weigh anything. That is, like, really, you know, important. But yeah, I'll shoot you a message, Pop Culture Mechanic. I appreciate that. It rocks. And so I have some higher resolution pictures that I put into a video I'm editing. But essentially, the top part has its own engine, and it separates from the bottom part. And you can even see like this mess of Mylar blankets in the corner. This is because like they had to access the like TV equipment. So like they have a compartment, like almost like a trunk on the side of the lander where they could open it up and take out the experiments. They have like TV equipment in there. And so I don't know, it's like the reason this looks the way, and here's another thing, when they first designed the lunar lander, see these windows up here? They're triangular. They originally tried designing it with a large curved window to give high visibility, but the window was going to weigh 200 pounds, and it would have reduced the payload capacity, or it would have increased the cost, or both, or made something impossible. So they figured out, one of the engineers overnight at Northrop Grumman in Long Island, New York, figured out if you put the triangular window at an angle like this, you get really good visibility, and then you could have a co-pilot and a pilot, or commander and pilot, coordinating with each other, but they would get a good field of view without making it that heavy, you know. And then you got the thrusters over here. Up here we have an S-band antenna. You know, I got one more topic here, and I'm gonna end it for real. promised, last topic here. I just want to share this because I'm very proud of my observation. So I'm gonna share with you guys right now. All right. So what happened was I was watching a flat Earth video on a flat Earth YouTube channel, and so we'll put up the audio. Now watch this ridiculous antenna in 2 seconds, all right? See this ridiculous antenna? Watch it in 2 seconds.
We never went to the moon. We never went to the moon.
And yes, that's Bear Brain. What's his name? That guy, you know, the guy with the beard. I can't remember his name all of a sudden. Owen Benjamin. Yeah, that's his fucking voice.
We never went to the moon. And I'm not gonna stop. I'm not gonna stop until I rip this whole thing down. And they stop. Fuck.
So he clearly thinks it's very funny
kids.
that this antenna is wobbling like that. Oh. Do rockets work in space? Okay, I'm not going to touch that topic, but there is a valid explanation as to why that happened. I think this is an Apollo 8 mission, but that's the American lunar lander, right? That's, you know, you had the rocket capsule lander. Apollo 8, they didn't land on the moon. They just kind of orbited the moon to test out the system because, you know, you're dealing with like early 70s, late 60s technology. And, you know, you want to make sure all of the parts work, so you do different stages. In fact, that's why they skipped, I think, Apollo 2 or Apollo 4. They skipped a couple of Apollo missions, like 3 and 4, because of that. And so you basically, inside this cone, you have the lunar lander. And that's important because a lot of people will ask, how can the lunar lander go such a great distance if it's not aerodynamic? You know, whereas airplanes have to be aerodynamic. It's because it never spends any time in the atmosphere. Whereas the end of the capsule, this is the command module, that does spend time in the atmosphere. Like literally, it spends time in the atmosphere when, you know, we're launching. And so you'll have a couple of components here. You'll have, this is the command module and the service module, which has a large engine on it. And so that's what you're seeing here. You're seeing the service module right behind the command module. And in that command module, you see this little pointy thing sticking up. There's actually a procedure for installing that. And they show you, I have videos that are going into my Apollo mission video where it shows you them practicing installing the probe, because this is what allows docking. They have to actually install that before docking. And so actually this is the Apollo 15 service module. I don't know why it's missing a panel on the side, but you have a communications antenna over here. Point is, the service module contains air, water, oxygen. So they don't carry all of the supplies in here, right? The air tanks are here. And basically at the end of the mission, they separate the capsule to re-enter the atmosphere to land, and they get rid of this. But this carries, you know, hence, you know, service module. It's there. Could something... Yes, so I'll give you the answer. I do have the answer to the question. I'm sorry. So getting back to the antenna we were looking at. So there is a valid answer to that so-called wobbling antenna. And I made a Reddit post on the Apollo page. This is one of the better places on Reddit. Because look, Reddit, sometimes you can do useful things here. While watching another awful "it was a hoax" video, that's my quote, I encountered something that I could not quite explain. During an approach/docking maneuver, the S-band antenna dish on the lunar module appears to wobble. I suspect that this might be just due to vibration, or maybe it was designed to do this, perhaps a tracking feature. The wobble occurs in this video at 5 minutes 8 seconds. While searching for info, I found a lot of info on other types of S-band antennas, and I'm working under the assumption that this one is a directional S-band antenna, but maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, I found pictures such as this one. See, that's the thing, and you'll notice that you see like what looks like a counterweight. Maybe there's a motor in there. You can definitely see some gears, or a thing that would store gears, like a gearbox and a motor housing over here as well. So it looks like it could rotate on the x-axis and the y-axis, or however you want to phrase it. And then we'll get the actual sized one real quick. And then there's like a zoomed out shot. We have different angles. Now this is a white antenna, but it's basically the same type of antenna. So getting back to here now. Of course I have absolutely no doubts, but I prefer arguing with flat earthers and moon hoaxes from a perspective or position of knowledge. So, you know, I'm not just going to tell people like, oh, science says this is real. I want to know, you know, how can I make a better argument on this? How can, you know, is there a valid argument? And, you know, obviously if I disagree with that argument, I would express that. But I think the explanation given to me was valid. So let's go on. But right now I'm quite ignorant as to the specific reason for this wobble. I can't sleep easy at night not knowing the answer, but I enjoy figuring this stuff out and adding it to my list of why flat earthers are wrong repository, a repository of sorts. Thanks for reading and for helping so that I can argue with a wall, because let's face it, I'm not changing anyone's mind in the comments section of that video. I've turned one flat earther over to reason, and it took months of me sharing my own astrophotography data and patiently answering his questions. Yeah, I was able to turn one flat earther. It took a while. A friend of mine was also able to turn a flat earther, but how he did it was different. He used some bullshit about sacred geometry. It worked, but he had to go down that rabbit hole. So here's the answer to the question. That particular antenna, being parabolic, was highly directional. There was also an omnidirectional system. This one had a manual mode and an automatic mode. In manual mode, it was manually steered. In automatic mode, once it got within 12.5 degrees of the direction of the transmitter, it was capable of locking on and steering itself, if so enabled. The lunar module movies, this one included, are displayed at a faster frame rate than real time. So in other words, my speculation is they recorded the film reel onto the film reel at a lower frame rate to conserve film. Because I mean, do you have enough film to record every single circle around the moon while the guys are on the ground? You know, if you want to get continuous footage of the lunar surface, you don't necessarily need a full 24 frames a second. You know, at whatever speed they're going regarding the scale and all of that, you could do it at like 4 frames a second maybe, or whatever they did. But if you took the recording at a lower frame rate, but you play it back at the normal 24 frames per second, you're effectively going to make everything look like it's moving faster. It's like the opposite of slow motion cameras, you know? And so that's why it seemed to be doing so many things quicker at times. I mean, I can't speak for approaching the surface, but in this case, this was just an orbiting maneuver. This isn't even like them approaching the surface. It might look like it, but yeah, you know, I think that's just an orbit. So anyway, let's get back here. What you are seeing here is not a wobbling antenna. It is an antenna tracking back and forth. Try my best to point to this source. Search S-band steerable antenna lunar module. Edit. It isn't a satellite antenna as pointed out in the video. Correct. Now, I get that when people see what looks like a satellite dish, they might call it a satellite antenna. So I'm not going to, you know, semantically nitpick on the Flat Earth channel for saying that. But yeah, this guy's correct. It is not a satellite antenna. And so bottom line is that what's happening is you had the service module lined up with the lander, which would be this bit right here. And this thing wants to get a communications lock. They got to transmit not just radio signals, but data, telemetry. And so the antenna comes in, right? And it's like, okay, automatic mode. But now let's start like wide. So it's going to go, then it's going to get narrower. And lock on. So it's almost like you're doing a sweeping pattern left to right. But as you do your sweeping pattern, it gets narrower and narrower as it's able to home in on the signal. And this is like very simple to program for. And that's why they were totally capable of doing it with the technology at the time. And so, yeah, I'm not here to preach any further. I just wanted to share that. And so I hope that helps. But in all honesty, you know, I don't know where you stand on the signs or whatever you want to call it, Timberghini. but I respect your opinion regardless. You've been very polite to me and cool. And also, I think it's okay to ask questions into that. I think a lot of people, they'll basically just treat people like a dumb flat earther for asking a question. The thing that sets a person asking questions apart from a flat earther is that when given a valid answer, the person will either ask follow-up questions, which is fine, or they'll just try to find some way to, like, you know, claim that it's wrong. They'll say, oh, but this other guy said some bullshit, you know, and they'll be like, see? So, yeah, I mean, you know, it's okay to keep an open mind on any end of the spectrum. But what I can say is that although I can't directly prove that men landed on the moon, and that's something I also have in my video project right now. It's like I worked on it, started on it months ago, but it's like in my timeline. The thing is, back then... Hope I didn't delete the video. Anyway, the thing is, yeah, I just got, you know what happened? I've been recompressing all of my video, and if any of it's in a DaVinci edit, I might have lost it. Might have to start that video over again. Ugh. So, no, the clip was not played at its original speed. It's not that fast of an antenna. Correct, Timberghini. It's not that fast of an antenna. It was definitely sweeping more slowly. And I've thought about an experiment. And it'd probably be easier to download the video in VLC Media Player. So here we're going to do, we're going to play it in slow motion. See? Down here. This is at quarter speed, 25%. If this may or may not be slow enough. But let's see what it does at 25% speed. That's as slow as I can go without downloading the video and processing it myself. See, it's doing a sweeping pattern, and it's locking onto a signal. So it starts with the very wide, broad sweep before narrowing down on the signal. So I hope that helps. Well, yeah, so yeah, you look at the moon, I look at the moon and the planets through high-powered telescopes and binoculars, but people will still argue, right? They'll say something like, well, you don't know what you're looking at. So my friend at work, he argues that the moon has to be a machine or something because, you know, like the coincidence we talked about earlier, right? And so for the same reason that we have that coincidence that would support his notion that the moon is not real, it's not a machine, or like I remember he would argue about cold moonlight, the notion that moonlight is cold. And, you know, it's like, there's experiments where people will put like a thermometer under moonlight and they'll show that the temperature is higher when you put the thermometer in a shadow. But the problem with those videos is that they will oftentimes have it like on, like, let's say like people have a rubber mat at the front door of their home, you know, rubber mat to like rub your, to clean your shoes off of, you know, before you go inside. And it's like those things have a rough texture. Those things retain heat, you know. So it's like that probably is why you know, why the thermometer is warmer. You know, the idea that moonlight is cold, aside from me saying some crap like trust the science, I don't need to tell you to trust the science. I just need to say that, like, there would have been maybe more of a, and I'm not saying that science is always all about, what do you call it, consensus. But yeah, I think there would be more of a consensus. There would be more people who could demonstrate that this is the reality of the situation. And if they're not able to do that collectively, or find like enough people who can share that view, then, you know, it's like I can't be expected to you know, share their perspective, I guess, you know, if that makes any sense. So we're gonna do a little experiment. I don't know if this is a good idea or not, but I'm gonna test out Mr. Topcoat. This is totally unrelated to the topic at hand, but I do want to thank you guys for, you know, exchanging thoughts regarding the moon landing and sharing some points of view on these things. And actually, before I do jump to that, So yeah, my friend thinks that the moon is a machine that emits its own light. That's why it creates cold light. And even if it doesn't create cold light, he thinks that although the moon isn't flat, that it's a convex, like a lens. So it's like not round, but you're still looking at one side. It's slightly curved because he would say, oh, why is the light coming off the moon? Why is it so uniform? Why isn't it like balling out? And I say, well, it's just evenly lit. And I explain things in inverse square law, or I try to explain the scale of things in all of that stuff. But, I mean, these craters are not oval-shaped craters. These are clearly going around the curve. So that's why he had to revise his explanation to maybe it's a convex. It's not round, but maybe it's partially round. You know, it's like, it takes a little bit more, like, mental gymnastics to, you know, go into that direction. Then just be like, maybe the mainstream explanation is valid in this case, you know? So, what else do we have here? So, Popcorn Mechanic said, yeah, I also love debating people, and I'm probably too open-minded sometimes out of respect. And I think I'm trying to be respectful to people because I want them to know that basically I'm not gonna win people over. I know I shut down about climate change because everyone's a dick about it. So it's like I don't want to hear it from people telling me that, oh, nuclear is not a valid solution to climate change because it won't be ready because of the point of no return. Because these people have not been very accommodating to people with alternate points of view to their own. So I say, you know what? Get bent. I hope your sea levels fucking rise. But let's see here. So I find it strange that the moon keeps the same size facing the Earth all the time. That's a good question, Pop. I can get on that one right now. And yes, that's a valid answer, Timbagini. It is tidally locked. So the next question would be, well, okay, it is tidally locked. So at risk of going the circular logic, why does the moon only show one face? Because it's tidally locked. And then it's like, well, why is it tidally locked? Now, I think I have an opinion answer for this, right? I'm not a real scientist, but I do know they did a recent simulation of the moon being formed. And basically, it's sort of like the idea is that an object that is maybe the size of Mars slammed into the Earth. And then you get your molten magma. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I'm not showing a video. So I'm going to explain why I think it's tidally locked. And real quick, Timothy says, many moons orbiting other planets are also tidally locked. That's interesting. Also, we've discovered planets that are tidally locked. And a lot of times, if a planet is too close to the star or too close, I think Mercury is tidally locked. And one of the explanations for it being tidally locked is because it's really close to the sun and the gravity and all of that. If I remember correctly, I'm trying to think, wait, is Mercury tidally locked? No, it is not tidally locked, but its rotational period is coupled to its orbital period. So in other words, it rotates 1.5 times during each orbit. So it's got a pretty slow rotation. Okay. So anyway, watch this simulation. Okay, centrifugal force. Essentially that matter on the right is entering orbit around the more massive object. And then the stuff that's closer to this ball is sort of coalescing towards this ball. And that's the thing, this simulation is not absolute certainty, okay? I'm not going to tell you that this is it. But my theory is this. So after the initial impact of that created the moon, if that's how it happened, you have a molten moon, right? And it's pretty big. As far as percentage of the size of the Earth, the moon is pretty big. So they both express a fairly meaningful amount of gravitational influence. Especially, I think at this time, the moon would have been closer to the Earth. It's gradually moving away from the Earth. So back then, it's really much closer to the Earth than it is now. And so my guess is that due to the molten nature of the moon, I think that the Earth's gravity had an influence on it and was able to keep one face facing it. And so as it was cooling down and hardening into rock, it didn't have any built-in momentum. You know what I mean? Like the momentum was absorbed by the liquid phase. When it was still molten rock, the momentum that would have allowed it to rotate got absorbed by that liquid, so to speak. And by the time it settled down, there just wasn't enough energy in the system to make it rotate. Like if there's not rotation already there, it can't materialize. So that's my theory, is that the rotation that would have been enough to make it go beyond being tidally locked was absorbed. But remember, it's not that it's not rotating, it's that it's rotating at a rate that's synchronized with the Earth's own rotation. So it's almost like if you took a ball and rolled it on top of another ball and continued to like physically make contact. You know, like sort of like, so the Earth is going to rotate like this. And the moon, so as the Earth, let's try to, Earth rotates and moon's moving like at the same rate. Now, normally, if the Earth was rotating and this was rotating separately, like let's see, the Earth would rotate and this would rotate. But if it rotated at a different rate, then you would always see a different face. But perhaps there's some thing about the nature of gravity that makes it inherently easy for things to fall into a pattern where they are tidally locked instead of being out of sync. But the Earth could rotate faster than the moon spins, right? And then we would see different faces at all time. The moon could rotate at either faster or lower of a speed. So, I mean, I know it's not like the most scientific explanation, but that's my speculation on the matter. So, hope that helps, but, to each their own, you know, like I still think it's valid to question it, you know, especially since the simulations don't have enough information on that. Let's see. I would like to see the dark side, though. Yeah, I would like to see the dark side. The Russians did send a probe out that did get a pretty good shot of the dark side, but it was like a fax. It was literally fax quality, like as in a fax modem. And you're right, we can theorize all day, but point being is that I'm still open to the mundane explanation to that one. So anyway, I think I'm going to just spray this thing down. But I want to thank you guys for watching. I'm going to be tuning into Snowdub, but because my channel is shadow banned on that channel, even though I can join from another account and I get along with everyone there, it's like, as far as I know, unless somebody in the chat was like, report that motherfucker. But like, no, I mean, I get along with everyone that actually does interact with me, right? So anyway, I look forward to that show. I'll have to log into another account to be able to participate in the chat, which is just annoying, but YouTube doesn't seem to be in a rush to fix it. They want me to do like all kinds of troubleshooting steps that have nothing to do with the damn issue. So anyway, hope that gets resolved one day. I put the link in the chat. For anybody watching presently on or on the replay. If you have any other questions, comments, or ideas, please leave a comment. Please like and subscribe. And, you know, I want to thank everybody. Tim Begini, Pop Culture Mechanic, my Star Wars Insider friend, third, fourth, second, not Hail Hydra because, I don't know, they were just doing the freaking ABCs in my chat. That was kind of annoying. Yeah, you know, I think David Glenn, you know. So thank you all for tuning in tonight. Hope you guys enjoy the remainder of your weekend. My weekend ends tonight because I go back to work tomorrow. But tomorrow morning, Pop Culture Mechanic will have a stream, so you guys should check him out. And with that being said, once again, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you wish. And for now, we shall end transmission. Oh, wait. Wrong button. Now I will end transmission. Yeah, I hope this chat